Mic check 1 2. Check check.
Okay.
I hear you. Thank you. He's here talking to the other photogs. I'm reporters. He's here, but he's here. No, thank you. I'm just glad you can hear me. Excuse me? I cannot confirm nor deny that, sir. Hey. Oh, no, that's the thing. All right. Oh, okay. I did take a look. I'm sorry. Oh, mic check 1 2 1 2. Are you good? Hello out there, everyone in TV land. We shall begin momentarily. All ready for you. All right.
Um, all right. Oh no, just to make sure you guys are behind me. I want to thank you all for joining us today on we know relatively short notice to announce that today I'll be issuing an emergency order declaring a state of emergency for the city of Columbia, South Carolina. For those of you relatively new to, no one's new to the pandemic, and you've heard some of this language in the not too distant past. Under state law, the mayor of the city has the authority to declare a state of emergency. Within 24 hours, the city council must meet to confirm that state of emergency. City council will meet tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. and I fully expect that we will have the support of the city council in this endeavor. We're watching some amazingly difficult trends emerge that leave each and every one of us deeply disturbed after watching a significant suppression of the virus by men and women who committed themselves to being vaccinated. An early, robust testing strategy that the city was actively involved in, along with so many different public and private sector and public health-driven partners here in the city. We are again at a significant challenging point. The rise of the Delta variant has not only imperiled our public health with a much more contagious version of the COVID-19 virus, but we've watched it rage through our community, a tenfold increase in infections just in the past month. The Delta variant, unlike the previous strands of the virus, has shown not only an amazing ability to infect all of us, but an incredible ability to infect our children. Many of us shuddered as we read reports of our children's hospitals all across this country, including right here in our fair city, being at capacity with our children suffering from COVID-19 and other respiratory ailments, along with all the other ailments, many of which we're seeing make their way back into our common lexicon because of this anti-vaxxing movement and discussion that we're seeing across the country. Children dealing with chickenpox and whooping cough and any number of different ailments. We're at the point right now where there are several vaccines authorized for emergency use by the CDC, and an increasing number of South Carolinians are taking advantage of that vaccine, and we need to see that number increase dramatically, well over 70%, to try and suppress the incidence of this virus. Regrettably, the vaccines have not been approved for those under 12 in the U.S. That means that in 2 weeks, across this community, tens of thousands of young people will be required to go back to school. Parents are legally required to send their children back to school. We have compulsory attendance laws in South Carolina. Thousands of dedicated, hardworking, committed teachers who have watched their lives be turned upside down because they've been pursuing their passion of wanting to educate our children, educate our babies, are facing an amazingly uncertain future as they decide to either pursue their passion of educating our children or to risk their lives by stepping back into a classroom. We have determined that this amazing confluence of challenges has put us into a position where we must do what we think is necessary, and that is do everything possible, everything within our authority to protect the health, life, and safety of our families, of our children first, and the professionals who have dedicated their lives to providing for them. That's where we are. I will say this, I did reach out to several elected officials today, spoke with leaders, appointed officials of both Richland 1 and Richland 2, the director of the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control, had a great conversation with our Attorney General, and also with a number of other public sector leaders to express the gravity of the matter before us and why we're acting and under what authority we're acting. It is clear to us, the legal opinion from our legal staff, that we have the authority to do exactly what we're doing here today, and we are fully prepared to hold that position and fight that position all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. That's how strongly we feel about this. Of course, you know, I'm joined here by City Councilman Howard Duvall and our City Manager, Teresa Wilson. You know, it seems like, yeah, a lot of times over the last year we've been standing in the gap. The city doesn't mind, city leadership doesn't mind speaking up when we feel some things need to be said. And I will say this too, and I will wrap up my comments. I've been incredibly encouraged by the discourse I've had with a number of our friends and others who share different political ideas, different political opinions, who have different ideas about the vaccination process or masking. And I've found unanimous support in support of protecting our children. This is something we can all rally around, we can all support. Let's save our babies, let's protect our babies, let's protect the men and women who educate them every single day. And hopefully we'll see no type of legal challenge to this action. Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah. I'm
Chris.
looking at a note saying that no school districts or any of the schools will use any funds to
Sure.
students
Sure,
or
Chris.
anyone else.
Yeah, Chris, that's the language from the proviso attached to the state budget this year. Our intention is to provide the mask. We will provide masks to the 40 plus schools that fall into this definition. We're talking about elementary schools and middle schools across the footprint of the city of Columbia. Most of those schools are in Richland 1. Some of those schools are obviously private. One school is in Richland 2. We hope and pray that we'll see other jurisdictions that our Richland 1, Richland 2, Lexington, Richland 5 schools and the families affected by the very same situation might follow suit, and we can find a uniform regional approach to this. So that is the language from the proviso. This is clearly not in violation of that.
Mayor, how do you expect to enforce this?
Oh, our fire marshals, just as they enforce the mass ordinance for all of us adults, will be deployed across the school district, checking in on schools, and there will be a $100 fine for every violation attached to this. So we're gonna there's gonna be accountability attached to this as well.
Mayor, is there any thought of expanding this again to other places in the city?
Not right now. That has not been robustly discussed by City Council, and we're at a point right now where, as much as it might cause many of us a great degree of consternation and frustration, adults are making decisions for themselves, whether they be vaccinated, whether they be masked. Our children do not have that option. I think our goal has to be to continue to follow the data. And if, in fact, we continue to see the Delta variant rage through this country the way that it is, particularly across the American South, where vaccination rates are not where they ought to be, then everything's still on the table. We'll use good data. Data gives you intelligence. Intelligence allows you to make good, informed public health policy. So taking nothing off the table, that and specifically is not on the table right now.
Let me ask a follow-up. After your remarks yesterday, we saw a lot of attention from some other community leaders in some of South Carolina's larger cities. You've been in touch with folks, mayors in Charleston or Greenville. I mean, do you think this is something that other municipalities might move to? Is this the area to go line for the municipalities?
We'll see. In this space and others, the city has been in the vanguard over the last several years. Our colleagues on City Council, I wouldn't say almost every vote we've taken has been unanimous. So this is not a partisan issue or regional issue. And we've had any number of conversations with leaders at the Municipal Association. As you know, Howard Duvall is the former executive director of the Municipal Association for many years. We spent a great deal of time with our colleagues at the conference just 2 weekends ago. And this was very much an issue of discussion. I did talk to several mayors, including the mayors of Greenville and Charleston, about this. I have no idea what their intentions are right now, but I hope and pray that we'll find more and more people following our lead.
You spoke to the fire marshals and the schools and the $100 fine for students or the families. So will we see fire marshals in our schools?
The district has ultimate authority over the schools by virtue of our Constitution. The principals have the authority to run those schools, so that's where the authority will lie. Our fire marshals, under the direction of Chief Jenkins, will be tasked with enforcing the ordinance as they have. We'll be common sense. We'll be thoughtful. We know that we're obviously working with children, and that will be our goal. But there will be accountability attached to this. And I think it's so important, some of the questions I got from some of the parents as we were, even as we were approaching the podium. We want to remove every sense of uncertainty from your decision-making process. This is the law in the city of Columbia. This is the law. We intend to enforce it. We want to give you the safety and security and sanctity of mind to understand that at least at those schools within our jurisdiction, and hopefully we'll be able to work closely with our neighboring jurisdictions, both in the unincorporated area of the county and other smaller towns, to maybe between now and the beginning of the school year to find some uniformity. But in the schools, and I've got a list of them right here, we're talking about roughly 43 schools, public and private. This will be enforced.
And the fine, how will that work? Will it be a fine on children? Will it be a fine on families?
No, we're not fining kids. Or no, this is to the administrator, the adult charged with enforcing the law. No, we're not fining kids. No.
What do you say to folks who say, this is government overreach, that you're requiring something that the governor is very clear shouldn't be required?
Well, the governor does not. The governor has expressed his opinion. That is not state law, and we respect his his ability to have his own opinion. Government overreach, I mean, we live in the greatest democratic nation in the history of the world. The reality is that we are a nation of laws, not of men. And if, in fact, we're going to maintain some degree of order, some degree of public health, if, in fact, we're going to preserve lives and livelihoods, we have watched what this pandemic has done, not only to our lives, our public health, but also to our economy and the way that we live. If, in fact, we're not willing to act to put things back on track, then I'm not sure what that says about us as a community, as a society, as a nation, as a state or a city. So to those who disagree, I respect their ability and right to disagree. We're going to continue to move forward to save lives and save livelihoods.
Have you coordinated this with the school district at all? Because my understanding is under state law, the teachers would not be able to enforce mask wearing.
I've communicated with both, obviously, the two public school superintendents that I know are affected by this, and made them clearly aware of our intentions without any doubt. The last part of that question was what school teachers will not be able to enforce the law. Well, that's not what the proviso says. The proviso verbatim says no school district or any of its schools may use any funds appropriated or authorized pursuant to this act to require that its students and or employees wear a face mask at any of its education facilities. This prohibition extends to the announcement or enforcement of any such policy. So the reality is that prevalent legal opinion is that the legislature cannot mandate schools not be allowed to require masks, but they can withhold the associated money there. This will not require any funds appropriated by the legislature to enforce. We'll provide the masks, and now we're just asking everyone to comply with the law, and this is the law in Columbia.
Can you explain the jurisdiction over private schools? Not a public institution, private schools, South Carolina, a lot of leeway. What authority do you have over private schools?
If private schools call 911, police show up. If private schools have a fire, public sector agencies show up as well. This is civil society where the laws of the public apply to every institution, public and private. There's a clear exemption, just as when we did the mask ordinance last year, that speaks very clear to religious exemptions, and that's also stated in the executive order.
And on your conversation with Attorney General Wilson, how did that go? What did he say?
It went well. Al and I, we've been friends a very long time. We have some fundamental differences on any number of issues. But I wanted to give him the courtesy of knowing him knowing exactly what we're doing and the rationale for the decision making, and that's what that conversation was. It was a great courteous conversation.
This be a 60-day emergency declaration if this gets approved, and
I'm trying to remember what the 61 days is. I think the limit of our authority.
so
Yeah.
that's sort of, so this would be at least a 61-day mandate, and then you'd have to revisit.
I hope, honestly, the hope and prayer is that this is not an issue. I mean, the numbers don't seem to be trending in that direction. However, I'd love if at the first day of school, if this is something deep in our rearview mirror, hopefully, certainly after 61 days, it's not an issue. But we'll monitor the data. We'll stay engaged. This is a place. I'll say this, unless you have some more questions. Where, yes, ma'am. This is a place where I hope none of us want to be. We want everyone to rally together, to lock arm in arm, and do everything we can to suppress this virus. We ought not have to go into another academic year. I'm a father of two school-age girls. Both of them are teenagers. They've both been vaccinated, but they will both be showing up at school wearing masks and doing everything you can to protect their health. We got to get through this. The only way we're going to get through it is if we do it together. I do.
And we saw the teachers that were worried in summer here as well. What do you have to say for the teachers that are in high school wearing masks?
Yeah. This is an emergency declaration and an ordinance that has been narrowly tailored to address a very acute challenge. What do you do for not only those that can't be vaccinated, but those that are also voteless and voiceless, and those are the children under 12. I would rather it also apply to high schools. I think it's more securely the legal foundation, the public policy argument is much more articulate as it relates to those who cannot yet receive vaccine. I would love to find some leadership at the not just here on the local level, but on the state level and national level, backing our play. This is a time we got to put the foolish politics behind us and decide that we're going to do everything we can to preserve lives, and hope and pray that we'll find the support that allows us to not only deal with high school students, but college students and every single one of us.
Mayor, just in the time since you answered that original question, people are still confused about the enforceability. Teachers texting me right now, wondering what's going to do.
Teachers will not be fined, but wear your mask. Okay? The CEOs of the schools will be held responsible. I fully expect, based on my conversations with our superintendents and other public policy leaders, that they will comply with our local law. We love teachers. We will support teachers. We want to make sure that our teachers are able to remain healthy and safe. Those that obviously will not comply with the law, we'll deal with that when the time comes. But this is not meant to be an issue for teachers or for our babies. We do expect parents to support our play, and if we have to find some other way to deal with it, this is an evolving crisis as it has been for the last year and a half. We'll evolve along with it.
So to be clear, the fine would be levied at the school administration?
Yes. And I hope and pray that they will be empowered by their superiors to do the right thing. The school districts, I will tell you, our school district partners, our school district leaders, our school district commissioners have been on one accord, wanting the ability to make sure that they can keep schools safe. We've supported them for the last year and a half. We'll continue to support them, and we see this very much as a partnership. So the goal is just to make it clear. This is our expectation. We expect everyone within the four corners of the City of Columbia to abide by this law upon passage by City Council tomorrow. It's not. It does not.
Just to clarify, this definition does or does not include teachers and staff?
It absolutely does. The facial covering shall be required by all faculty, staff, children over the age of 2, and visitors in all public buildings at public and private schools or daycares whose purpose is to educate and or care for children between the ages of 2 and 14 and to slow the spread of the novel coronavirus and disease COVID-19 within the city limits. Yeah. Wear your mask. If you can, please consider getting vaccinated. Let's do our part. This is a journey we've been on much too long together, and it's the type of thing, a pandemic, we obviously none of us have lived in one before, unless you're 103 years old. This is something we can only see our way out of together, so let's do it together. Thank y'all. God bless you.
To the budget that would not allow a mask mandate within public schools. You can see it there on your screen. But the mayor of the City of Columbia, Steve Benjamin, says that he believes Under the letter of the law, he is able to go around that proviso, issue that state of emergency with 61 days. That's the limit of his authority to require these students, staff, and teachers within public and private schools to wear a mask.
There was a lot of talk during this 25-minute press conference about the enforcement of this mask mandate that he is putting in place for all of these schools. He says fire marshals would be enforcing this. There would be a $100 fine for parents if their child's not caught wearing a mask. But he also said the principals have the authority here, I guess, when it comes to somehow enforcing. But again, if you go back to the state proviso that was passed, according to the state proviso, state funds cannot be used for the enforcement of this policy. And certainly principals are paid partly with state funds. So there could be some legal questions here that others have raised. In fact, it was raised here in this press conference. Others out there, critics of this, may be quick to pounce on this and say, no, you can't do that.
43 schools, public and private, will be impacted by this state of emergency if it is passed. Again, it has to be voted on by City Council tomorrow. They're meeting at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning to vote on this state of emergency. But again, 43 schools, public, private, and daycares within the city of Columbia will be impacted by this state of emergency. If you've been watching the press conference, you saw for yourself that City Manager Teresa Wilson was there along with Council Member Howard Duvall. We didn't hear anything from them, but it will be interesting to see over the next 24 hours how this plays out. Again, all of this because we know schools will start very soon. Kershaw County goes back to class tomorrow, and the Children's Hospital at Prisma Health is at capacity today with the number of respiratory illnesses that they are treating children. We heard on the DHEC call, and we'll bring that to you as our viewers in just a couple of minutes. We heard from DHEC that the Delta variant is impacting younger children, and they are getting sicker and needing to be hospitalized because of this.
Yeah, he talked a lot about our ICU units with the children being full, and he says we must do what is necessary to save lives here. In speaking with his legal team with the City of Columbia, he says they are confident here in issuing this mask mandate for area schools and daycares. So confident, he's willing to take this all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court.
All right, so Friends at 5 is going to start for you in just about a minute. But again, the breaking news headline today, the City of Columbia Mayor Steve Benjamin issuing a state of emergency if it is passed tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. by council members. Everyone between the ages of 2 and 14 within public schools, private schools, and daycares within the City of Columbia will be required to wear a mask.
All right, we have much more on our website, WLTX.com, and stay with us. Friends at 5 is coming up next.
All right, so we're starting our newscast for you right now. Again, for those of you who are just joining us, we've got breaking news at this hour.
That's right. Columbia Mayor Steve Benjamin just finished a press conference requiring face masks in schools in the capital city. The mayor today saying that we must do what we think is necessary, do everything we can to save lives. Saying that this will affect 43 public and private schools and daycares within the City of Columbia.
Again, before this can become law in the City of Columbia, the City Council has to vote on it, and that will happen 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. But Mayor Benjamin saying during that press conference just moments ago that he feels confident that he has the support of City Council.
And following all this, a lot of people have a lot of questions about what this means. News 19's Eleanor Tabone is joining us live from the site of the mayor's press conference, which took place on outside a school on Rosewood Drive. Eleanor?
That's right. We are here at Rosewood Elementary, where Mayor Steve Benjamin just issued an emergency state of emergency due to the spread of the virus. It will require all faculty, staff and students in Richland 1 schools to be wearing a mask. He said during the press conference that it will be enforced at all 43 schools within the city limits. Students will be returning in 2 weeks, and Mayor Benjamin says due to the surge of the virus, this is the only way to protect staff, students and anyone, guests coming into the schools. He also said that the fire marshals will be patrolling the schools, and if they see anyone without a mask, the school administrators, the CEOs, the principals will be charged $100. That does not include students or parents. They won't be charged. It will be the schools themselves. Now, at this point, the emergency warning will not be issued to the wider community, but it will be in place for at least 61 days. Reporting live in Columbia, Eleanor Tabone, News 19 WLTX.
All right, Eleanor, thank you. Our team coverage is going to continue now with News 19's Ty Wong to help explain the legalities of today's announcement. Ty?
Yeah, good evening, JR and Darcy. As you just mentioned earlier, that the City of Columbia Mayor Steve Benjamin is placing this state of emergency declaration to protect the youngest people who cannot get the vaccine. Yes, that is the elementary and middle school students who are younger than 12 years old. Now, this is because that there is a spike in COVID cases, including the Delta variant, and a uptick in the lack of capacity at pediatric ICU units at local hospitals. Now, back in May, the governor did place a ban on mask mandates. So how does this order take effect and how is this allowed? Well, I spoke with one constitution law professor at the University of South Carolina, and this is what he had to say.
You know, I think it's a good decision because I've seen my parents, they both got COVID over a year ago. I saw how much it really affected them. To think that anything we can do to stop this Delta variant and keep our community safe is a great idea.
I don't think that's a good idea because some people already had their vaccine shots and stuff. I don't think that's good for him to make people wear masks if they don't have to. You know, that's what I think about that.
Now, we apologize for that mistake. That was a community member's reaction. Now, the professor did tell me it's because when the governor did place this mandate, he also banned the ability for the mayor to rely on the state mandate to make any future mandates during a declaration. Now,
Governor McMaster removed, by executive order, removed the ability for a mayor to rely on the state declaration of emergency as a legal basis for a mask mandate. But it doesn't say anything about the mayor's own independent municipal powers to declare a municipal state of emergency in order to do a mask mandate.
Now, how does this order affect the state proviso that was put in place for schools that would ban them to have a mask mandate? Well, more details on that coming up on News 19 at 6. But for now, reporting live at City Hall, Ty Wong, News 19 WLTX.
All right, Ty, thank you so much. Again, depends on what side of the legal specter you fall on, whether or not you believe Columbia Mayor Steve Benjamin has the right to issue this state of emergency. Again, this is going to be taken up tomorrow morning by members of City Council, 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of talk between now and then, a lot of legalese, as I call. A lot of people are going to be weighing in on whether or not the City of Columbia has the authority to issue a mask mandate for not only public schools, but private schools within the City of Columbia. All is happening as we're continuing to watch the number of patients at the Children's Hospital in Columbia increase. We hear from medical experts there at Prisma Health and from DHEC that there is a tenfold increase in the number of children and just patients in the hospital due to COVID-19. All right, in case you're wondering, this is the proviso that everybody's been talking about now for the last several weeks. And when you hear, well, state law says you can't do this, you can't do that. The proviso says no school district or any of its schools may use any funds appropriated or authorized pursuant to this act to require that its students and or employees wear a face mask at any of its educational facilities. This also extends to the announcement or enforcement of any such policy. There's a little more. If we can go to the next one, this is the part where it talks about enforcing the proviso. It also says that you cannot use, basically you cannot use state funds
when it comes to enforcing any such mask mandates. Fire marshals are funded by the City of Columbia and Richland County, as far as I know. But when you get into the schools itself, when you get into the principals, the teachers, school resource officers, part of those funds are tax dollars, state tax dollars. So you're walking a fine line here by some standards. This is a statement from Dr. Craig Witherspoon of Richland District 1.
He's the superintendent of Richland 1. He says in his statement, we will encourage our students and staff to wear masks, which public health officials advise to help mitigate the spread of COVID-19. We also urge everyone who is eligible to be vaccinated to get vaccinated. Again, the statement from Dr. Witherspoon, the superintendent of Richland 1. Mayor Benjamin says that he's talked to the 43, there are 43 schools, public and private, that could be impacted by this emergency order. He says that he has talked to the superintendents of the districts that would be impacted by this order. By our count, that appears to be Richland 1 students as well as Lexington Richland 5 students.
All right, DHEC also offering a response to the provisos included in the state budget, preventing schools from mandating masks, and if they think masks should be a requirement.
So any decision to change that proviso rests with our political leaders. Obviously, when the initial decision was made and the regulation passed, we were not where we are today when it comes to the number of COVID-19 cases and the hospitalizations from the Delta variant. So it's important to note that changing recommendations such as mask wearing are expected when situations change. Our job as public health agency is to make sure that best decisions are based on what the science and data are telling us. That being said, DHEC recognizes the mask use cannot be mandated per the South Carolina General Assembly and will adhere to the state law, and we advise others to do the same. But we still strongly recommend mask use for all people when indoors in school settings, especially when physical distancing is not possible.
A lot of talk about the numbers. Let's take a look at the latest figures from DHEC, the health agency, confirming 2,035 new and probable cases across the state today. 13 additional virus-related deaths. The percent positive rate standing at 19.1%.
Another day where we've had more than 2,000 cases across the state. I had a chance to look at the numbers earlier today. When it comes to the top 3 counties in the state with the highest number of COVID cases today, they are Horry County, followed by Richland County, and then Lexington County.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with more Friends at 5 in just a moment.